Okay, welcome everybody to Unclean Hands Explained. This is our Patreon channel that eventually will go on YouTube. And we're just going to explain, each episode to you and have fun doing it. I hope you like it.
Well, hey, I want to talk about this first episode here. Who Killed Jamal Blue? This is this grabs, this pulls you in right away. So what got your idea going for this to start off with such a shocking moment?
Okay, so the whole premise is about Unclean Hands is I wanted to make a version of Power and Snowfall, but a southern version. Because Snowfall is basically the West Coast.
Right.
And Power, it's New York and Northeast area. But most African Americans I know live in the South. So I'm like, okay, it's a niche there. It's a fan base there.
Yeah.
So that's what I did it. So basically I can put this, Unclean Hand can basically be in any country if I want it or even region. But I wanted to do the South because I figured, that's a niche and there was a demand there. So being at the first episode, I had to grab the audience.
Yeah.
And what grabs you more than something happening to a child?
That image that you've got in there really made me stop. I had to pause it because I was like, damn, that really gets to me seeing that image, and that really kicks that story off as to why there's such high emotions going on throughout this whole story.
Yeah, I mean, it took a while to get the image that I wanted, because the animation is coming out later, probably by the end of the year. But I wanted to make it something that'd grab you. And I had a couple of people even say in the comments on YouTube, and people bought the book like, wow, yeah, why did you do it to a kid? But yeah, now you're interested, right?
Right.
Now you know what happened, and trust me, I'm going to take you on the ride with this one.
So also, do we know where this is taking place, or could it be in any southern town?
Exactly. I didn't want to give it a name, so then people okay, this is not accurate enough for this region. So I just said a southern town.
Yeah.
But it is a time period. This is basically around 95.
Okay.
Remember, it's a trilogy.
Right,
So
right.
Unclean Hands 2 is what I'm writing now. It's going to be totally different, but it's going to be like 2008. It's 15 years later type of thing.
Okay.
And, that's when you'll know who's really the whole series about. Because trust me, on the first one, no one gets it.
Yeah.
And I had it ready in your face the whole time.
Ah, okay. So you're setting up a whole lot of dominoes that are going to keep falling throughout this whole trilogy.
So it's a trilogy, yeah. At the very end, you're like, oh, man, okay, cool. Yeah, they deserved it, And then we can do an Unclean Hands somewhere else, your version. I'm thinking about UK or Canada.
So yeah, this could go international in terms of where this story goes.
Of course, that's what I did it for. Every one of my series are like that.
Yeah.
They can go anywhere.
Well, and the characters also started really jumping out right away. You could start getting a sense of all their individual personalities as to what their motivations were, what people were looking for, what they're trying to do, but also just that there is a whole history behind why Jamal has just been shot.
See, the thing is with this, and this is to a lot of writers out there, because basically I write a screenplay first, then turn it into a book, which you can get on Amazon or Barnes & Nobles, and then from there I make it an audio book. So the thing is, the key is to grab them in the first scene.
Yeah.
The second scene, maybe the third, is just to explain who everybody is, the characteristics of that character. After that, especially with me, it's action, 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 action to the very end. So, let me get you in the beginning, then explain who everybody is and their characteristics and who they're about, their backgrounds. And after that, we got to have action. And you're never going to be bored.
Oh, yeah. Now, having watched most of the series, I can attest to that. And we'll get to that as we go along here. But anything else about this first episode that you really want people to know?
Well, I want them to know especially about Thomas. Just happened to be there and his family background. Thomas is very important as a reporter there, but also the human side of Romeo Blue and his wife, Dee Dee.
Yeah.
I mean, they might be, he might be a game banger, whatever. He's still a father, you understand? He's still a father, and it hurts when your kids die,
right?
And the mom too. You'll learn more about her later, but still, I wanted that connection that, even though you could be whatever background, you're still a father.
Right.
And that's why I wanted to touch on this first episode.
Well, and that's what I think was genius about the start, is that if we'd started off really knowing who he was and his history was, some people might be less sympathetic to who he is, but watching his kid get killed and watching his wife suffer here in this first chapter, it gives you empathy for him right away, even though you learn a lot of things about him later on. It still establishes that he's, that he cares about
True,
his kids.
because you have to be a monster
Yeah.
to not care about a child. You
Right.
understand? So that's what I wrote that for, and I just want to get your emotional strings going.
Yeah.
But yeah, trust me, I'm taking you on a hell of a ride on this one, and wait till part 2, kid. Even better.
All right. So tell me some more about these characters. Like, who are the inspiration for people like Loco and Dee Dee? Like, do these come from personal experience or?
With Deidre, Dee Dee's Deidre, that's basically, that's my wife.
Mm-hmm.
So she actually did the voice on that one. So,
Okay.
So I actually put her in there, and some of the characteristics of her, and some are not. But I took things from different women in my life on that, and the dad itself, Loco.
Mm-hmm.
I have so many members in my family that has a background similar to that, so that was easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
But since on this one it's the 90s, like mid 95, whatever, so I had to put Crips and Blood.
Right.
That I had a problem with that. With my family, most of these guys are Bloods or whatever,
Right.
which I don't understand it either. But hey, I had to get their permission. Like, you read it first, and they're like, "Hey, why you doing the Bloods like this?" So like, look, everybody's gonna be treated equal in the end.
Yeah.
Just ride with it. And when it was done, they're like, "Okay, cool, you represented both well."
Okay.
And that's what I want to do. But yeah, I just want to let people know, just because they're in that situation, you don't know how they got there,
Right.
and they're trying to do the best thing they can to get out of it.
Yeah.
To make it work, and that's what we all do, right? Mm-hmm. Try to figure it out.
When I thought that was what was interesting in this first episode was starting to watch them trying to have that separate personal life, but watching the rest of their life starting encroaching upon that with the violence that was coming from things that have to do with other than their family.
In the end, it's all about choices,
Yeah.
The one choice can mess up everything.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to think before you do it. So that's what we're doing here.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah. So tell me more about Thomas and what he's doing here at this baseball game and kind of where he fits into the whole story so far.
Okay, so Thomas, basically, his family is the funeral home of choice for, the black community there. Because there's only one they can really go to. Mm-hmm. So Thomas is there basically just to cover that for his family. His family sponsored it. He just happened to be at the right place at the right time.
Okay.
And let's be honest, he's optimistic. He's like, hey, I see opportunity here. I'm going to take it. I just happen to be there. I'm going to run with it and see where it goes. And he has a good heart, too. He's really trying to help them. But in the end, he's helping himself as well.
Right.
It's going to help himself. So that's what Thomas there. And Thomas is along for the ride here. So majority of this thing is people are really seeing it through Thomas' eyes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, so he's sort of the audience proxy for the whole thing.
Yes.
All right. Well, I think those are all our questions for episode 1.
And I want to thank everybody for, joining the Patreon channel and being a part of this episode 1 and the ride there. We're only going to send you more. Be ready for more content. Once again, we're going to put it out before everyone else get it. So if the original episode comes out on Wednesday on YouTube, the Explain will be out on Saturday. And only you guys get to get it. For Patreon, this is for all your help, for supporting us, and we're going to give you something in return. Thank you guys for everything. Please stay tuned. Thank you, everybody, again for coming to Unclean Hands Explain on our Patreon channel. Here we're going to explain each episode or each chapter to you in more detail, but in a fun way. So I hope you guys like and enjoy, and thank you again for your support.
Well, I want to ask first about the advertiser on this, the commercial at the beginning. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because I thought that was a really cool thing.
Yeah, it's a Fun Recollection. It's a company based out of Miami. And what they do is what I thought was very unique. They sell memorial plaques that go into headstones. Mm-hmm. And basically, it's got memorial plaque, headstone. You got 30 different products you can pick from. And they have the people image or not, just a QR code. They date of birth, and then you place it on there, right? You can scan it on your phone and share videos and pictures of your loved ones. And it also has GPS, who don't go to the gravesite and walk around for 30 minutes like
Wander.
Yeah, you're like,
I've done
man,
it.
where's my mom thing? But this one take you directly to it.
Nice.
And they also use it for like weddings or whatever. Funeral home use it for obituaries. So they have a big poster, a picture of the person, and a QR code they scan on there. Everybody can leave their loved one message on it. And then when they buy the product, it goes on the headstone anyway. So you can see everything from there. So it eliminates paperwork for the funeral home.
Yeah, it's just as simple as scanning a QR code, it looks like.
Yes, yeah, and the landing page and everything else. So they work as you buy your subscription first. Once you buy your subscription, you get your landing page, and then you can add everything onto it. Then buy the product, put it on the headstone, share with everybody in the family.
Well,
It's a great deal.
it's very, very cool. And it's very appropriate for this episode, The Burial of an Innocent Soul,
Yes.
because it takes place primarily in a funeral home.
See how it ties in?
Well, tell us a little bit. You mentioned it in the last episode, but tell us a little bit about this family and how they've come to be the only funeral home that seems like it's servicing this community.
Well, you're going to see in later chapters, they really explain it, but right now they're the only game in town. So if either, I don't care, unless you go to another town,
Yeah.
you're going to have to go to that funeral home. But yeah, they do give back. You see, they sponsor certain things, youth programs and all that.
Right, they
But
sponsored the
the
baseball
baseball
team,
game
yeah.
in the very beginning, but still, they're the only game in town. So do you really have a choice?
Right.
And this is gonna be a theme to this whole book and this whole animation, this whole audio visual chapter is that it's all about choices. Mm-hmm. One choice can mess you up for life.
Now I'm guessing that means they've had to do some dirty business to become the only game in town.
Yeah, you'll see. You'll see.
Yeah.
It comes on later chapters. It explains itself, but at least here you saw that the guy, Thomas and family, his grandfather, you were introduced in this chapter, and you get to see more of Jamal Blue and his mom. Thomas actually really looks out for them. And we also introduced the Reverend in this chapter.
Yes.
Which is very important.
Yeah.
The Reverend and the grandfather, they tied in together. And you'll see as they progress, their connection.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get into a further history of those. Now, I'm curious as to your artistic choice here as to why Thomas and his family, which run the funeral home, not only are they the only game in town, but they're also white, which sets them apart from most of the people that they seem to be working with here.
I mean, this is strictly business, If you're going to start a funeral home,
Yeah.
once you're going to be on the side of town where they have most of the murders or crime,
Yeah.
I mean, it's make common sense there.
Right,
Why would
right.
you go to the suburbs where they really don't have any crime?
Right.
You're not going to make any money.
Right.
So that's why I actually put them there.
Yeah.
It makes total sense,
Yeah, and I feel like, I don't know, there might be some resentment there from some community members as well.
Yeah, it's going to be resentment, but again, when you're the only game in town, what are you going to do?
Yeah,
So Brady got a monopoly.
very, very true. Well, tell me about some of the image work in the show here. We haven't talked about that. We talked about the specific image of Jamal in the first episode, but just the artwork in general. Kind of what is your inspiration for some of the imagery here?
Well, with the artwork, if you see anything like a drawing illustration, that's my cousin Brandy Antonio. And her name, I make her sign in oil, and then she's in a book as well. So what we do is I try to give you two different versions of the characters.
Yeah.
If you see the AI version, that's just something I created. If you see the drawings itself, it's something she created. She's an art teacher. She's very intelligent. She has her own art studio in Long Island. So she does her thing there. And plus, I reach back out to family members,
Yes.
Why not help them out?
Right.
And get her name out there. So if you look in the book, especially in Unclean Hands book, most of the illustrations, 90% are hers.
Okay.
I made her sign it, and then she get credit in the very beginning of the book, her website, the whole nine.
Yeah.
Same thing on this one. She'll have a credit on it, but I use that for her because I wanted a different feel. Especially when you're reading a book, you want to just read words all the time. You want to have
Right.
a breakup. And with me, I always give you two versions of that character. You're going to have an illustration drawing and an AI drawing.
Yeah. I like that it moves between a couple different styles of artwork. It really keeps it interesting.
Yes, sir.
So there's an interesting scene in here where Loco is talking with Thomas, or Thomas wanted to get some information from the family about what happened with Jamal, and they're like, look, if you can give us, or he offers a deal on some discount on the services. And so he says, okay, if you do that, we'll talk to you a little bit. But when Dee Dee starts to go into some details, he puts a stop to that right quick. And so I just want to ask a little bit about what's going on there in that dynamic and why she might be telling more than he wants and why he's stopping her.
Okay, this is how it works. First of all, I wrote this for Thomas, like I said, he's an opportunist.
Yeah.
He saw opportunity to not just be a beat writer, to actually be a network guy, right? So, yes, he's going to press. And honestly, he pressed at the wrong time. You don't want to ask somebody while they're mourning.
Right.
You know? So, of course, that was going to piss the dad off, you know? But it's also the code of the streets, too. And when I grew up, you know, you didn't really, which is dumb to me now, but, you know, you didn't cooperate with the police. But now I know, hey, you're paying taxes. That's their freaking job, you know?
Right.
So, but yeah, you know, you don't snitch. There's no snitch rule. You take care of yourself, which is, you know, dumb to me now. But back then, that's how it was. So, yeah, basically, I wrote it that she was running her mouth too fucking much, you know? Just calm down, let them do their job. We're going to handle it.
Right.
So that's why I wanted that feel of it, because that's really how I grew up. That's how it happens.
Yeah.
We'll take care of it.
And that's what I thought was cool about it, was that he didn't want enough information getting out so there couldn't be an arrest or for someone else to catch the person. He wants to take care
or
of the problem.
Or if he took care of it, it don't come back to him.
Yeah, that too.
Because if she's telling him all this information,
right.
What a reporter going to do with it? Yeah, she did say it was a red car, da-da-da. Right. Okay, and she's the only one that's going to come back to him. So, you know, mum's the word.
Yeah.
Mum's the word on that.
But yeah, and what you're saying about, you know, what you grew up with and everything is that we're just going to take care of our own business here. We're not telling people about our business.
True. That's how it was back then. Now being an older guy, you pay taxes, let the police handle their business.
Right.
Back then, it doesn't work like that. And I didn't realize later that police really don't care unless you're a homeowner. If you don't pay property tax, you really don't pay their salary. So when people saying, you know, I pay your cop salary, no, you don't. If you live in an apartment, you don't pay no taxes.
Right.
Why would they care about you? You live in a project, why would they care about you? You don't pay any taxes. So the police gonna treat you a little different than someone live out in the suburbs or own a house or own a couple of properties.
Yeah.
So you had to take care of yourself.
Yes. Well, I want to ask about, just jumping to another scene here, I want to ask about the funeral scene. The music during that scene is really good.
Thank you. The soundtrack itself, I actually do all the soundtracks. So
every piece of it.
Every piece.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, because we have actors that actually go in there and do the reading. Like this was 3 actors.
Yeah.
And then relative way the next one would be like 8. So different actors, but the music itself, I do the theme, the feel to it, because I want it to sound like a movie.
Yeah.
My daughters told me in their 20s that their generation don't read books. They want to hear audio book. So I had to make it sound like a movie to keep them interested. So all the background, the shooting, and the music, and the love scenes. Yeah, I did it all myself. It didn't take long.
Well, it was impressive. Like I said, it created an atmosphere for that scene that was kind of melancholy and made you feel the weight of the moment there.
And that's exactly what I was going for. You know, I want you to come along with the ride with me.
Yes. Well, and you know that we're just 2 chapters in, and we've learned a lot about people. And it's really started rolling at this point, so I feel like we're getting into it.
Yeah, so this chapter and maybe a little bit of the next one, we're just introducing. After that, action to the end, and it's gonna be a fun ride.
Excellent. Thank you for the detail.
All right, and thank you guys again for listening, and on our Patreon channels supporters. And like I said, this is going to be every week a new update. This is a laid back, a feel like just talking to a friend and explain it to you. And you guys are going to be the first one to get it as usual. Patreon channel. Thank you guys for all my supporters. You support, we'll put your name on the back of the episode as well. Thank you guys. Have a great day. Okay, welcome everybody to Unclean Hands Explained. This is our Patreon channel that eventually will go on YouTube. And we're just going to explain, each episode to you and have fun doing it. I hope you like it.
So we're talking about Chapter 3 now, Digging Deeper. So this is where we're still starting to kind of flesh out some of the plot and starting to understand who some of these people are connected to. But I wanted to ask, before we get too far, you've talked a little bit about it, but can you tell us more about your inspirations for this story? Like, what really got this story in your head, and what are some of the experiences that you pulled from here?
Well, first of all, I wanted this to be like I said, a southern version of Snowfall of Power.
Yeah.
Because I knew it was a niche there, there's a market there. And then from there, I just used on experiences, like on chapter 3, Digging Deeper. Of course, the reporter's going to have an informant.
Yeah.
So I made Ricky the informant. And everybody know a guy like Ricky, small-time drug dealer. But, think he bigger than what he is.
Yeah.
Didn't quite make it right. And, he's a fuck-up.
Right.
His choices didn't work out, but that's why Ricky was involved in this one. I put him in there, and OG Mims, I put him in there because again, it's got to be two sides to every story.
Right.
You see Jamal Blue and Didi, and what happened to their son. Now you got OG Mims, and you know why he the way he is.
Yeah.
It's a blood. It's a Crip,
Yeah.
red and blue. You need to see both sides of the story, and that's what I did here. So by introducing OG Mims, now you get to know his background and why he's so freaking angry.
Right.
He feel he was wrong too.
Yeah. Well, Ricky, he seems like one of those people that, like you said, we all know one, but the bad luck just seems to follow him. The fact that he's talking to the reporter and OG Mims sees him down the street talking and recognizes him. He knows what's going on, and it's just like, man, that shit sounds like just Ricky's luck.
Well, you see, like this, Ricky is. I couldn't have it all drama, killing, and all that. It's got to be a comic relief.
Yeah, yeah.
Ricky and his baby mother Lisa Chan is the comic relief for this, and also just to let you know, someone's always watching.
Yes.
The reporter came there at 3:00 in the morning, figuring nobody's really there, 3 or 4 o'clock. But it's somebody's out there.
Right.
Especially in the project, somebody's always watching.
Yeah.
This is for cameras, but somebody's out there. So, Ricky thought he was doing something, come over here, because he knew people were out there.
Yeah.
So he told him, come on this other corner, but too late. You already been spotted. So all you can do is make the best of it.
Yeah.
But Ricky is basically, he's my comic relief for this.
Now, at that same time, OG Mims is meeting with some crooked cops. And what is the relationship there? What's that history?
Well, it's basically anything. Cops are involved. Mm-hmm. If you think you live in a town or a city and you sell drugs, don't think the cops know you are, you're a fool.
Right.
As long as you don't make a lot of noise or a lot of murders, and you pay them, they'll let business go as usual. And that's what I'm showing here.
Yeah.
That's always been like that. And again, it's another thing with Unclean Hands. It's always going to be, if it's demand, somebody's going to meet that demand. Mm-hmm. So here, the cops are basically controlling it. And it's always like that. I don't care what city you are. If you think you're selling drugs, you think the cops don't know about you, you're a fool. They're either waiting on you to get big enough so they can extort you.
Yeah.
Or if you make too much of a problem, they're going to get rid of you.
Right.
That's just the game. They can stop it anytime they want to.
Right. When I think, like you said, this is setting up that everybody is connected, and all these characters we've been introduced to, they all have secrets. They're all connected to each other in some way or another, and they're all connected to this larger system. And so, you'll find out that when one person is doing something, someone else knows what they're doing, and they're going to have to stop them from doing it. So there's this whole big spider web that's sort of starting to form here.
Everybody has a boss.
Yeah.
You don't think you in control of everything. Somebody's always over you.
Right.
Unless you're going to do it everything yourself, do it the right way. If you're doing it illegal, you have a boss.
Yeah.
And somebody knows what you're doing. You're not doing it on the radar. And that's, again, it goes back to the title. No one had clean hands. Nobody.
Well, and someone else who doesn't have a clean history, hands and otherwise, sounds like Dee Dee. There was a twist here. We found out some information about her and about her history. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, like I said, it's two sides to every story. So with Dee Dee, I want you to know that, hey, she's not as innocent as you think. You felt sympathy for her because her child died.
Right.
But she's probably the reason why all this shit happened. Mm-hmm. Because you see, when Ricky tells the story about how OG Mims went to jail, that was his girl.
Yeah.
And when he went there, Jamal was his friend.
Right.
Supposed to be, just looking out for it. But inevitably, you be around somebody long enough, sex gonna come in.
Yeah.
And then he ended up falling in love. His best friend Jamal fall in love with his wife.
Yeah.
How you think OG Mims is gonna feel about that in jail? He can't do anything, but he's gonna get him.
Yeah.
So I'm quite sure Jamal heard through the grapevine from people in jail that, hey, this guy's coming for you. So to protect himself, he had to join the Crips to protect himself because the other guys are blood. So you got to go to the opposition to protect yourself. But it all comes Didi.
Right.
So Didi don't get mad if it works out like that. There's something collateral damage. But we'll see what happens.
And speaking of OJ Mims, someone takes some shots at him here at the end of this episode.
Of course, if you need a chapter before that, when he told Didi, stop talking so much, they'll take care of it. This is their way of taking care of it.
Yeah.
Remember, he said he pretty much figured out who it was by the red car and all that.
Right.
So he assumes it's him.
Yeah.
So, of course, you're going to take care of it. They tried their best.
So at this point, we've met a lot of characters, like I said before. Do you have any particular favorite characters, like ones you just really enjoy writing because the words they just come to you because this character is just so much fun?
Well, so Ricky was definitely fun for me because I had to have a comic relief.
Yeah.
I couldn't just have you so serious and so, depressed that the kid died or just action, the senseless murder.
Right.
It has to be some kind of compassion to it. It has to be some kind of comedy to it. And that's why I made the character Ricky.
Yeah.
Because him and his baby mother, the UCLA, Lisa Chen, is hilarious, yet everybody know a couple like that.
Right.
Hell, I've been there before. You know what I mean? It happens.
Well, and I want to mention a piece of the artwork in here as well. There's a scene of Ricky standing in the rain and talking to Thomas, who has a face mask on in this picture. I don't know, there's just something really dramatic about this shot with, especially, like I said, this rain coming down on him.
Well, I set the scene up so it's late at night and it's raining at the beginning of the chapter. So I wanted Thomas, he just can't go in there with a suit and tie,
right?
Regular white guy in the project. So you have to gotta try to blend in.
Yeah.
So knowing that it was a blood neighborhood, he definitely put some red around.
I see.
But
okay.
To unseen, the people that actually live there, they know this guy ain't from there. And that's how the cops and OG Mims like, yo, who is that?
Right.
And OG Mims thinking, Rick owed me money, so, he just making a sell.
Yeah.
But the cop still had questions, which he should.
Right.
If something is out of order and doesn't fit, you must investigate. You must investigate. Don't take it as, oh, well, no, that's stuff you need to pay attention to.
Yeah, and that's something I've noticed too so far is that it's something you see in poor writing is people will just shrug their shoulders and ignore things. But in this, everyone, they see something and they investigate it or they ask questions. And so the characters feel very real that way in that they actually are curious about the world around them, the things that are happening, and they've only lived this long because they pay attention. And so I like that no one just kind of goes, it's nothing.
Yeah, in those situations, you got to have your head on swivel.
Yeah.
Always. This is how it is, especially in that area they in. And most places you grew up in, especially me, you got to have your head on swivel. You weren't going to make it.
Right.
And then thinking, this is 95, so it's a different time period. Even though I was a grown man then, I can relate to it because in the 70s and especially the 80s when I grew up, you better have your head on a swivel. You weren't going to make it.
Right. Well, and as we're going to get to, not everyone makes it.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And hey, we'll see everyone next week.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks again to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this content wouldn't be possible. So we're going to make sure you guys get everything first. Hopefully you like it. And just stay tuned for more chapters. We got more explained later. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody, again for coming to Unclean Hands Explain on our Patreon channel. Here we're going to explain each episode or each chapter to you in more detail, but in a fun way. So I hope you guys like it and enjoy. And thank you again for your support.
We're talking about Chapter 4, which is titled A Dark Past. So that gives us some idea as to what's coming up in this episode. And we're going to get to the past part, but I really want to jump in with this first scene with the Reverend talking to the congregation. And I thought it was a really great way to kind of set up the atmosphere of where all these characters have come from and where they've grown up by talking about really about the pipeline to prison. Mm-hmm. And, just kind of the structural and institutional racism that goes on in this country, and how a lot of people, he talks about black men getting longer sentences and harsher sentences and things like that. So I think that really helps to set up like why some of these characters are the way they are and where they've been and where they've come from and what they experience.
Well, I wrote that from, family experience. Mm-hmm. I mean, I literally know that happened to my brother-in-law.
Yeah.
They gave him 43 years.
Damn.
For something that the judge, the reason why they cut his time in half, mm-hmm. because somebody recorded the judge saying that she wished she gave more niggas more time. Wow. And then they disbarred her. Yeah. And everybody she gave sentence for 15 years, they cut their sentence in half. That's the only reason why he home. Wow. He only got 22, he did 43. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that really does happen. So that was my inspiration for that. But then the rest of the sermon, I mean, I wrote that. You ever seen a movie called The Education of Sonny Carson?
It's familiar, but I haven't seen it.
Well, Lauryn Hill used her album Education of Lauryn Hill.
Yeah.
Education of Sonny Carson, guy from Brooklyn back in the 50s. But it's a scene called Who Killed Lil Boy? Mm-hmm. And my wife hates this scene because the preacher goes off, and I just say it over and over. He just keeps saying, "Who killed little boy?" He crying and shit. My wife hates it, but I just love that. He had so much passion. Yeah. So I just use what he was talking about in the 50s to what it means now.
Yes.
And people can relate to it. Mm-hmm. But and it's sad but true. That still happens.
Absolutely.
I have family members that, he never thought he was coming home, B. Mm-hmm. 43 years. You get somebody there at 29?
Right.
But I was there for him. I rocked for my people. I made sure he was good, and then he's home. He's living great. But the thing is, that was my inspiration for writing that. And then I wrote about how the mothers had to raise these kids by themselves.
Yeah.
And I wrote it, to be honest, what girl grew up saying she wanted to be a single mother?
Right.
Not one.
And yet so many wind up in that situation.
Yeah, not one. Mm-hmm. Because when those guys in jail, who's going to raise them? TV?
Yeah.
TV, you know what I mean? And they pushing another agenda on them.
Right.
So I just want to bring it to light,
And it really did, because that point hit home where, yes, we talk about all the men in particular. I mean, women go to prison too, but all these single mothers that are the result of that people don't always look at as much.
Yeah, because like I said, man, I have daughters of my own. I have daughters because I'm a thinker. That's what I say. You got daughters, you're a thinker. But yeah, I just didn't. My daughters, I guarantee they ain't want to be single mothers growing up. They want to be princesses, So that's hard on her. And you got to make her be the father and the mother. That's impossible.
Yeah.
At a certain age, you're going to rebel.
Right. And
you got to have that male figure there. I'm lucky I had my father. That's my man, 50 grand. I love my dad to death. Like my father told me, if I wasn't his son, I'd still be his friend. That was enough for me,
Yeah.
But I had that. I grew up with a lot of people who didn't. So yeah, that's why I wrote that, and it really touched a lot of people. Mm-hmm. I got a lot of people emailing me and commenting on my social media, the Instagram at Boyd Crest, and also on even the Amazon. Mm-hmm. And Barnes & Noble, people leave their reviews, and they said the same thing. That sermon at home. But the thing is, Vernon Hargrave, who has Junior, who did the sermon itself, he did that in one take.
Wow, it's
one
impressive.
take. The hairs on my arm stood up. You know understand? Uh-huh. So what I do with my voiceover actors, I don't like to really be in there with them because they I don't know, I intimidate them or whatever. Military dudes. Like, So I'm like, I talk to them like, you guys set up, you good?
Right.
Then I leave.
Okay.
But I wanted to be there for that speech.
Yeah.
Because if I knew he could do that, then he's worth the money. And he one take.
Wow,
One
that's
take,
impressive.
bro.
Is he a reverend or a minister?
No. I mean, he grew up in the church like most of us.
Yeah.
But boy, that's what happened. When he was about to do this, I pulled him outside the studio and I said, "Look, man, I know you know." He was sweating bullets. I'm like, "Yo, relax. I'm not gonna be in there with you, but I need you to bring it."
Yeah.
I said, "You been to church, right?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Cool. Well, take me to church."
Yeah, good direction.
And he took me to church. He closed his eyes because he'd already knew the lines.
Yeah.
He never read it. He just closed his eyes and did it because he already had the book.
Yeah,
And that's the key. I always put the book out first.
right.
Well, the screenplay, then the book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I would say in a lesser delivery voice actor, that no pun intended, but it could have seemed preachy, but it came across as genuine, as though someone were really saying it from the heart, and especially in a church situation like this, or a church presentation, or as he's doing it as
I always
sermon.
like Lil Vernon voice. He
Yeah.
got that radio voice.
Yes,
But
yes.
man, when I saw that guy saying that and tears was rolling down his eyes,
Yeah,
I'm like, okay. I touched him.
yeah.
He read it. He got it.
You can tell he's
and that's
feeling
all I want.
Yeah.
Wait till the animation come out. It's gonna be even better.
Oh, yeah.
But you want to touch your audience, and again, I have to grab you because remember, after this chapter, it's going fast ever since.
Well, and his sermon there, it's foreshadowing of what's about to happen, because he's talking about, prison and everything, and then all of a sudden, Bells shows up, who we haven't seen yet. He shows up and is in the back of the church watching, and it sets the minister or the reverend spinning. He's just coming
my
apart
man
now after that.
Bells, the blast from the past, Yeah, everybody got a little past, and Bells come to clean things up.
Yes.
And so, Bells is going to be a great character. I could have did a spinoff on Bell, but I made him older because I have other things to do with this. I don't want to spin off like that. I have certain messages I want to do with this.
Okay.
But Bells come to change some things.
Well, and sets it in motion right away with the sort of assault on the church. And really, it's directed at the Reverend, but it's not meant to hurt him. It's meant to show him who's still in control after all these years, it feels like to me anyway.
Well, the assault was actually the other gang getting back.
Okay, yeah. Oh, he didn't orchestrate
No,
that. Okay.
it had nothing to do with the Reverend.
Because he didn't seem bothered by it at all, so I thought
No,
maybe
he's
he
used
had
to that because his background.
Yeah, it's true.
He's used to that.
Yeah.
Well, he was scared the hell of when Bell showed up.
Ah, okay.
Again, how I said somebody went to jail for a long time and all of a sudden they home.
Right.
And you thought they're going to be there forever.
Yeah.
And you did wrong to them. Yeah, you're going to be shook.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. But the violence in the church part, that's just gang getting back at gang.
Okay. Well, that scene still hurt a little bit, though, because then you realize that the Reverend is just given this amazing talk, and then you find out his history, too, and what he's up to now, and you're like, oh, man, he's not entirely what you think he is, much like most of the characters in here are more than you think.
That's why I titled it Unclean Hands. Nobody has is clean.
Yeah.
Everybody has a past.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I named it Unclean Hands. No one has clean hands. Everybody has some dirt.
And he has his hands all over two 19-year-olds back at his house, too, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, he's got a whole thing going on.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Most reverends I know some good reverends, but there's some out there just do it for the money,
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, yeah. And like you said, there's a lot of unclean hands.
There you go.
I know this is coming in future episodes, but obviously the Reverend has done some misdeeds to Bells here. So I assume we're going to learn more about their connection and their history.
Yeah, because you see how shocked the Reverend was.
Yeah.
I mean, and I wanted him to be stone-faced. They're like, oh my God, what's going on? So you could feel that. And by just reading it or just looking at it, you're like, okay. Mm-hmm. Reverend is not all he seemed to be.
No, definitely not.
And then let's go on this journey so you can know exactly what this guy did. I mean, he got good parts too, but your past is your past, and sometimes it can catch up with you.
Yep, and then he takes his Bentley.
Yeah.
On top of everything, he's like, you know what? Give me some cash and your Bentley.
Yeah. That's why I made it cool because if somebody take my Bentley, I'm like, come on, B. You know what I mean? I don't even drive that thing that much. That's for me and wife. We go out, but yeah, I just wanted him to know that you owe.
Yeah.
If this guy went to jail for that long and you didn't look out for him commissary, and where I'm from, you look out for your people. You know what I'm saying? Even though I didn't help you do the crime, and if you were successful with that crime, you wouldn't have gave me no money, but you still family.
Right.
And I'm not gonna let you sit there and not. I'm gonna make sure you can eat.
Yeah.
Because it's dangerous in there. There's wolves in there, and I'm gonna make sure at least you got the money. Now you gotta still handle yourself.
Yeah.
But for us commissary and all that, yeah, you're gonna be storing there with me. I make sure you always got money. You're never gonna miss a Christmas. You always gonna have a phone call. That's the least I can do.
Right.
But you know what I mean? If something happened to me like that, God forbid, even though I got bail money now, but still, I suspect people to take care of me.
Right. And he didn't do that for Bells,
And
obviously.
and sometimes it's a I don't know how you call this, but sometimes it's a burden on the family too. While you going to jail, we didn't ask you to do that crime. Now we got to take care of you.
Right.
They don't think about that part, the criminals who actually did the thing.
Yeah.
That you putting a burden on us. I can't put you on my taxes. But yet I've been taking care of you for 20-something years.
Right.
But it's called love, You got to love.
But it sounds like the Reverend could have been giving Bells some money, because he just says after his Bentley's taken, he calls someone and says, yeah, get me another one, but get me a convertible this time. So he's obviously not hurting.
No.
So I no wonder Bells is kind of pissed, because
Exactly. So
could
he
have been
wanted him
supporting
to suffer in there.
Yeah.
So it was always a dirty deal. And you'll see more about that later. But, just showing the character. Just because he's a reverend don't mean he is a saint.
Right.
Just because he's a reverend don't mean he's going to heaven. Some people just do it for the money.
Right.
You don't pay taxes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
You know what I
true.
mean? So every bank, every church is actually a trust or a bank. So he really got it good there. So that's why I did it for. Just to show you that different choice. Again, it's about choices. And again, no one hands is clean.
Well, thanks again for all the detail, and we'll see everyone next week.
All right. Thank you guys again for listening to Unclean Hands Explained. Also, don't forget to check out our social media platforms. On Instagram, we have Boardcrest Animation, and also our YouTube channel, Boardcrest Animation, where you can check all our episodes that's coming future with our other series as well. But Unclean Hands, thank you guys, the Patreon channel, again for supporting us, and we're going to continue to give you more new content. Thank you again. Okay, welcome everybody to Unclean Hands Explained. This is our Patreon channel that eventually will go on YouTube. And we're just going to explain, each episode to you and have fun doing it. I hope you like it.
All right, so we're on Chapter 5, Out for Blood. And yeah, there's some blood that flows in this episode. So tell us what happens to Ricky in this episode. I think that's one of the big, it kind of jumps off with that right away.
Yeah. I wanted Ricky to be the comic relief, and yet still, he take the brunt of, the ass whoopings here. Basically, he messed up the assignment. It probably wasn't his fault, but you in charge, you should have took care of it. So Ricky really got, beat up by his own gang.
Yes.
Nah, you don't think him getting beat up by some people that he actually jumped in and owed it, he's not going to feel a certain type of way?
Right. Well, he definitely feels a way here.
So I definitely, again, that's reality. That, you've been treated wrong, and you're going to make sure, especially somebody of his caliber, is going to make sure he get his revenge. So that's another twist to it. Now Ricky don't give a damn.
Yeah.
The gang stuff, loyalty's out the window. I got beat up by you guys, and it wasn't even my fault.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Everybody can go down.
Well, and he doesn't even get any sympathy from his girlfriend, or she's his fiancée, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he gets no sympathy for this.
I mean, most women won't. If put it this way, if you one of the guys is always beating up on your woman, 9 times out of 10 they won't fight a guy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They're fighting somebody less than or weaker than them.
Yeah.
So by him getting his ass whooped, she loved that.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
okay, you always hitting on me, but why you ain't fight them? So next time, don't talk shit to me. Go fight those guys. And I always seen that growing up. These guys that would beat up on women, when real men come on, like they said, when a real gangster come in the room, people get quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, hit me, kid. they're not gonna do it
Yeah.
because I'm not that woman. I'll take care of you.
Well,
And that's what I wanted to show that example because, like
Yeah.
I said, people know people like this.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's not only sympathy, but she's really like kind of digging it in.
Digging
She's
it in.
enjoying it,
Yeah,
making
but
fun of him.
again,
for
my
it.
wife did the voice. And, yeah, I've been digged into before. She read that with ease. She could do that with ease.
Well, I was going to say it sounded like the voice actor, and that was your wife, was having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, that's my girl. But she was there when I wrote the whole thing. So she's like, oh, wow, this is me, huh? I'm like, kind of, but not kind of. I mean, she don't talk like that, but still, I would, and plus me, I don't hit on women. I spoil them. I love them.
Yes.
If I got to hit you, I leave.
Right.
Somebody else will love this lifestyle I'm giving them. You know what I mean?
All right. Well, thank you very much. And hey, we'll see everyone next week.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks again to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this content wouldn't be possible. So we're going to make sure you guys get everything first. Hopefully you like it. And just stay tuned for more chapters. We got more explained later. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody, again for coming to Unclean Hands Explain on our Patreon channel. Here we're going to explain each episode or each chapter to you in more detail, but in a fun way. So I hope you guys like it and enjoy. And thank you again for your support.
We're now on episode 6, and that is A Villainous Plan. So, well, this is where a lot of things come to the surface in this episode, and we talked about them a little bit before. In fact, I think I got a little too excited about some of the details. But can you kind of give us an idea about what's happening here? What's really bubbling up in this episode?
Well, again, Ricky want revenge.
Yeah.
He got beat up by his own gang. Who's taking that? And these kids younger than him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wouldn't have done it, but I wrote it. So, yeah, somebody like that would go and try to go to, your enemy. My enemy could be my friend.
Yeah.
So he goes straight to Loco Blue, think he's telling him something he don't know.
Yeah.
But, there's always a code when it comes to gangs or gangsters. No snitching. Thank you for telling me, but you're still a snitch.
Yeah.
And you got to be dealt with accordingly. So that's how I wrote it.
Yeah. So he decides at that point he is going after OG Mims and going after Ricky. So that he wants neither of them to come out of this.
Of course not. I mean, OG Mills because it's personal.
Right.
And then little Ricky just because the principal.
Yeah.
You're a snitch. You can't respect that.
Yeah.
OG Mims is personal, though. But again, he got something to deal with that, too. He did mess with that man's lady.
Yeah.
So, it all pays itself out in the end.
Right. Well, and, I Loco, he's an interesting character. I'm curious as to some of the inspiration behind him.
Again, relatives, man. I have
Yeah.
a lot of relatives went through this, and not me personally, because, I wouldn't fall for that. But, yeah, just to say that it can happen. I mean, you're supposed to be taking care of your friend, your man's a girl while you're in jail. But if you're around her long enough, sex going to come in part.
Right.
Because he's gone for 10 years. You're there for Christmas. You're there for the kids' birthdays. You give her money. She feel like, in a way, she's going to kind of owe you.
Right.
And she's going to feel a certain way towards you. You're going to give her a relationship. And that just happens like that.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot, be honest with you. Basically, I never understood how guys think they can go to jail for a long period of time and the girl's supposed to go to jail with them.
Right.
When it doesn't make sense to me, because if she go to jail, you're not worried about her.
Yeah.
You might send her something, but you're not going to hold your life for them. So I wrote that in the book to let you know that, honestly, that's what really happens. If you're doing 10 years, she's not going to do 10-year bid with you. She still have to take care of the kids. She still have to pay the bills.
Yeah.
Somebody else going to fill your void. Same thing with this drug thing here. Well, another drug game, leave, drugs up, somebody going to fill that void. Same thing in jail. You go to jail for 10 years, she got to be taken care of. Somebody else going to do it, so don't get upset with her.
Yeah.
You're not there to take care. She didn't make you go to jail. So and I know a lot of guys who think, oh, yo, she ain't shit. She didn't wait for me. Well, hell, she didn't make you do it either. The crime. So I just want to put that S back into the book and into the show.
And that kind of connects back to what the Reverend was saying about, none of these girls asked to be single mothers, or it's not what they were dreaming about. And so, not only are they mothers, but, they're women. They have a whole life they want to live. They have needs and wants and things. And so that it shows how that plays out here.
I just want to show you it's two hands, two sides to every story. So, yeah, she didn't want to be a single mom and all that.
Yeah.
But again, you're messing with a drug dealer. What you think gonna happen? He's going to jail or dead. So either be small enough to save the money when he's giving you just blowing it, what most women do.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm buying Gucci bags and all that. Save that money because he ain't gonna be around a lot.
Right.
Then when he go to jail, guess what? He need that money back to take care of him. So again, it's about choices.
Yeah.
About choices. You chose that fast life and wanted easy money with him. But that what comes with it, being a single mom. I wanted people to know Dee Dee wasn't innocent.
Yeah.
Because most times you always blame the guys.
Mm-hmm.
I want everybody to know that, hey, Dee Dee has something to do with this too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the thing is, if she would have been loyal like she's supposed to, none of this would have happened.
Right.
At least those guys would still been cool. So yeah. I mean, because that happens a lot. You know what I'm saying? Most things guys argue over or fall out over is women.
Yeah. Yeah, and this really, it not only puts a rift between them, but it puts them in each other's crosshairs. Oh,
yeah, because when OG Mims came home, his number one priority is them two.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you? Mm-hmm. Somebody, you could be my friend, you knock up my woman, have kids by her, and you think I'm just going to let that slide? You can't.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah. Well, and then, of course, we've talked about Ricky going to tell, but talk a little bit more about when Ricky goes to talk to Loco, and Loco's walking the dogs. What is there's kind of a power move there, like the way that he's walking with these dogs, and Ricky is terrified of this whole scene of these dogs. Like you just feel it in him how afraid he is.
Yeah, you caught that.
Yeah.
So I try to make an atmosphere that, first of all, you're in enemy territory.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't be over there. You got all this red on, everybody in blue. I saw this when I was in Chicago. Had no idea games was like that when I was in the 90s. I had a red Jetta, and everybody kept calling me Blood. And I'm like, yo, what are you talking about? And then they heard my accent and realized I wasn't from there.
Yeah.
And told me to get rid of the car. So I did.
Yeah.
Same thing here. You're not from that neighborhood. You shouldn't be over there. And plus, you're going to go snitch to the guy who runs it. Yeah, I want to have a powerful scene. And there be an animation more. Yeah, he's walking those mean pit bulls with chains on her that can destroy you at any time. You better talk quick, better talk fast, better make sense. And that's the whole scene I want to say. Because you see it in your head. He know he's wrong. He's scared, but it can happen.
Yeah. And that is the thing, too. Like, he wants the information, but he just doesn't want to deal with Ricky any longer than he has to. He's really disgusted by Ricky and the fact that he's a snitch, even though he's telling him something.
Even though you're telling somebody to know, coming from you, nah. Because if you did that to him, and that's supposed to be your OG, what are you gonna do to me?
Right.
You both gotta go.
Yeah.
It's very simple to me. Get rid of both of them.
Well, and like I said, and the imagery that's on the screen there, I really like the way the dogs are so prominent in the background, because it adds to that fear that these powerful animals are right there, those dogs, and they could tear Ricky apart. And not to give too much away, but there might be a little foreshadowing in Ricky's future as to tearing something apart.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted Loco Blue to realize and have those dogs.
Yeah.
Let you know when you come around him, that's another thing you got to worry about. Him, his game, his guns, and those dogs.
Right.
This is another thing. You ever see the John Wick movie, John Wick 3, with Harley Berry had the dogs?
Yeah.
I love that part. And when I wrote this, I'm like, yo, those dogs dogs is tearing people up. Even though she
Yeah.
was shooting, I'm like, dogs mean something. I mean, I'm not scared of dogs, but still, if they got dogs barking like that, kill the dogs first.
Right.
And the thing is, people never really pick. Ricky didn't go over there with a gun,
That's true. It's true. He went over
which
there.
was the dumbest thing. But I wanted to see if somebody caught it, and people did catch it. Actually, reviewing the Amazon and Barnes and Noble, they really did catch it. Like, why he didn't go with a gun?
Yeah.
I'm like, read later, and then same person emailed back. I'm like, you didn't finish the book. They didn't read like certain parts, and it was like, oh, I get it now. I get it
Right.
now. Yeah, you don't want to go over there being a threat.
That's
Because if you brought a gun over there, they'd have killed them from the word go.
well, that's the thing is the minute they see that, because he came cowering, and so was,
Yeah, head down.
yeah,
If it's a dog, he was wagging his tail.
right,
You know what I mean?
right. All right. Well, thank you again for the details for this week's episode, and we'll talk again next week.
All right, thank you guys again on my Patreon supporters, and we're going to go to chapter 7 next. I hope you guys love it. Once again, we're just giving you guys more explained details and want to make sure you guys get it first. Thank you guys for your support. Thank you, everybody, again for coming to Unclean Hands Explain on our Patreon channel. Here we're going to explain each episode or each chapter to you in more detail, but in a fun way. So I hope you guys like it and enjoy, and thank you again for your support.
So here we are, chapter 7, Trouble in the Waters, and damn, there's a lot happening in this episode. Yes, a lot of stuff that you've been setting up in the story is really starting to pay off now. All the things are starting to fall. And one of the first things I have to talk about is Loco getting his revenge on OG Mims for Jamal's murder. And just, that is some serious shit. The way they run him over, they back up over him. He's still alive when they get out of the car, and then coming back around to the dogs. That was some good foreshadowing. He sicks the dogs on him to tear him apart. He's still alive and has to shoot him, so he's a tough son of a bitch. But, you know, he can't survive all of that. But it is a really intense scene.
Thank you, man. On that one, I just want to show the anger, the hatred they had for each other. You know, even though OG Mims was pretty much ambushed and assassinated, the point that he just wouldn't die, he still hated that dude.
Yeah.
And to the end, he still was talking shit. I mean, he got ran over twice.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what you're supposed to do. You hit him once. If you really want to get him, back up on him.
Right.
You know, but to send the dogs on him,
Yeah.
the same dogs that Ricky saw, yeah, he's letting you know, yeah, it could have happened to Ricky too if he wanted to.
Yes.
Just ripped him apart.
Yeah, and the artwork, the way the artwork is sort of contorted, where like his arm seems to be disconnected. It's really a creepy, horrific kind of shot, and it evokes some horror movies there. So it just shows that this wasn't just, like you said, an assassination. It was he destroys him physically.
And the thing was, I mean, I couldn't show more detail because, you know, it's on YouTube.
Right.
But I wanted to let you know that, yeah, his body really got destroyed. I
Yeah.
mean, those dogs really did their job. And then to him still not to die,
Yeah.
even though he's gonna die, he's still gonna talk his shit. I hate you anyway to the end.
Yep,
you know,
defiant.
then you know, Loco Blue just, you know, finish him off.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's still, my favorite part was he still let everybody know that Ricky told him.
Yeah, says it out loud. Thank Ricky for the information.
Yeah.
So that everybody knows.
Even if the guys weren't there who could stop it,
Yeah.
they're gonna learn real quick who was behind it. Mm-hmm. Truth or not,
Yeah.
you involved,
Yeah.
and no one's gonna listen to you.
Yeah, and once you put it out there publicly like that, they have to do something.
It's just like somebody say you talking to the police.
Right.
They ain't even trying to listen.
Yeah.
To you explain that you wasn't doing it. You already in.
Well, and speaking of the police, when Thomas is talking to the police about it, they're pretty flippant about it. They're like, "We're not trying to solve this crime. This isn't something we're worried about. This is just people, criminals taking care of criminals. We're not concerned."
Again, long as it don't happen in the neighborhoods that pay taxpayers like homes and suburbs and all that, why would they care?
Right.
It'll take care of itself. They always does.
Yeah.
Why would they waste manpower and time? Give enough time, they'll kill each other. And that's exactly what I'm trying to show people.
Right.
That, in the end, they really don't care.
Yeah.
Unless you're affecting their bottom line, their pay, why would they care?
Yeah. And then you bring in another connection that this police officer, like a bunch of police officers, work in their off-duty time, work at the funeral home. So I feel like there's going to be some connect back there again, having to do with that. Everything we know is going on at the funeral home, too.
Yeah, but if you notice, most cops, they don't make a lot of money, like 65, 70,000, maybe 80. That's not no money.
So a lot work other jobs.
So a lot of work other jobs. They do security.
Yeah.
Funeral home is a nice thing. All you do is driving. Everybody follow your petition, follow you. You escorting.
Right.
But still, they do side jobs. And most of the side jobs they do, it got some illegal activities.
Yeah.
If they work at a club, security, they see all the drugs going on in there. They're just not saying nothing. Funeral home thing the same way. So only he picked one cop to be his dirty guy.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because you have a lot of people that can snitch on you.
Yes.
One guy to get rid of if something goes bad.
Now, what this moment with OG Mims really made clear to me in listening to this was that nobody's off limits. Like, I thought he was going to be a major player throughout this story, and suddenly he's gone. And that really, shocked me a bit, but it made me realize, okay, we're not playing a long game story with some of these characters. Like, anybody is fair game, so we just don't know who's going to be buying it next.
And that's why I write trilogies.
Yeah.
So I don't want you to think, and most people don't get it, that they think this is the main character. You're wrong. But if you sit there and read it and understand, you could probably pick it out who's actually the real guy was about a real person. But yeah, with OG Mims, it had to be realistic on it as well. There's no way if someone thought you killed their son, you're going to laugh that long.
True.
And plus a man with having that much power with a gang behind him, another guy telling you from his gang that he did it.
Right.
You got to handle that quick.
Yeah.
That's why you saw all the Crip guys meet up and they hang out or hide out. And that's when they say, okay, we got to go get this guy.
Yeah.
It makes sense, perfectly sense to me.
And of course, the danger of removing a leader that powerful is the vacuum that follows. And, how that can leave a hole in an organization, that the violence that can often come with that and trying to fill that hole.
Yeah, somebody always going to fill the void.
Right.
That's always going to happen.
Yeah.
Maybe you got some young guys going to fight for a position. But
right.
Somebody's coming to get it. I mean, if it's money to be made, somebody's going to get that money. Mm-hmm. It's common sense.
Yes. Well, and speaking of everybody is fair game, you kept talking about how Ricky is the comic relief, but what happens to Ricky isn't very comic here in this story. It's actually pretty terrifying, but very effective in terms of sending a message to everyone. This is what happens to a snitch. The fact that they barely talk to him and already they're cutting pieces off. Very important pieces.
Well, the comic relief, it was the earlier chapters, him and his girlfriend or baby mother arguing and all that. That happens. But for him being a snitch, you got to take care of that.
Yeah.
Local Blue literally told the whole neighborhood who told him the information and said thank you.
Yeah.
So even if he didn't do it, and you see how Ricky tried to explain his way out of it,
yep.
Those young guys weren't trying to hear that. Mm-mm. And why beat some guy up who can take an ass whooping, honestly? Mm-hmm. If he really want a man to tell you the truth, put on his pants and put a knife to his dick. He's gonna tell you everything.
Yeah.
And Ricky tried to stick to his guns, but they were gonna kill him anyway.
Yeah. And then, of course, the very important moment there is that they all have to shoot him to put blood on all their hands with it, so that everyone has been a part of this killing, so that everyone is responsible and involved. So, no one can get cold feet about it later and go in and sing to somebody and, give away information. They're involved too.
That's why I always try to tie into the title of the book. Or
Yeah.
type of no one has an unclean hand.
Yes.
And it's another way to eliminate the snitching as well. There was a lot of guys there. Everybody shoot. Everybody goes to jail. We all shot this guy. Who you snitching on, yourself?
Yeah.
So other than that, I just want to make an example that sometimes you have to do that. If you're not doing it by yourself, everybody need to be involved. I'm not trying to make criminals, but that's just logic to me.
Yeah. Well, and then to send the point home, they leave the body outside of his girlfriend or fiance's door, right? They leave her near the restaurant, out by the dumpster, and she's the one who finds it, and that's where this episode ends.
And that's how I try to tie into, again, the emotion part of it. That, okay, she knew that he was fucking up.
Yeah.
And wasn't the brightest, but to find him mutilated like that,
Yeah.
and to throw it behind our father's restaurant, let them know that, hey, we knew it was your man who snitched. If you do something, if you snitch, we're going to get you too. It's a message more than anything.
Yes.
Because they could have threw the body anywhere.
Right.
They put it in that alley behind that restaurant for a purpose. And then later on in the chapters, we'll find what that purpose was.
All right. Well, this is a pivotal episode, and there's a hell of a lot that happens here. So this was really, really exciting. And hey, I'm looking forward to 8.
Hey, I can't wait to explain it to you guys. And once again, thank you for all the Patreon supporters. And we're going to continue to give you guys good content. Hope you guys enjoy it. And please like and subscribe on the YouTube channel as well. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody, again for coming to Unclean Hands Explain on our Patreon channel. Here we're going to explain each episode or each chapter to you in more detail, but in a fun way. So I hope you guys like it and enjoy, and thank you again for your support.
All right, so we are now talking about episode 8. And it's pretty cruel how Lisa Chin finds the body of her fiance, even though, she talked a lot of smack to him a couple episodes ago. She obviously still cares about him. I mean, fiance after all. And, for her to find the body, she's pretty messed up about it.
I mean, it's still her baby father. I
mean,
everybody, relationships are gonna have up and downs. You're not always going to get along, especially when you first get in a relationship. They're young.
Yeah.
But to find his body like that, it was a message. It was a straight up message. They could dump that body and they could have left it at the hideout, whatever.
Yeah.
They made sure it was behind her father's restaurant. So there was a message there.
Yeah. But what they really couldn't have known, I don't think, is just the chain of events that it would set into motion, leaving him there, because she then goes up to go find her father's gun. And what she finds is that there are red items like handkerchiefs and things around that look very blood-like, and she is confused by that, so she confronts her father, and he makes a big, huge revelation about this.
It just shows you that everything's not what it seems.
Yeah.
Eventually, in the beginning of this movie, you just thought it was a blood and crip thing.
Yeah.
It's Dee fault, and these two, it's something totally different.
Yeah.
See, you looking at my left hand, my right hand was writing something else.
Right.
So it shows you that the dad was behind, her father was behind that whole damn thing. He didn't give a damn about that kid.
Yeah. Yep. So he shot up the ball game, which killed Jamal Blue, set this whole thing in motion, and it's because he wanted to sell more guns.
Exactly. If everything's peace and everybody's doing good, no problems, he don't make any money. Like he said in the episode, in this chapter here, you think he moved there because he wanted to be around black people? He went there because, hey, first of all, he can sell guns there. There's a lot of crime. Second of all, he can sell his other businesses there. He can do his Chinese restaurant. He can do his hair salon. He can do his weave place. All that's there. He can get all the money.
Yeah.
So it was business for him, strictly business.
Now, this scene, it has a very, the conversation that he and his daughter have has a very real feel to it. And I'm just wondering if there is any, like something particular you drew on for the inspiration to this.
Well, it's two things. First of all, I've seen a lot of movies and stuff before with Asians in it, and the father is very dominant.
Right.
So I wanted to make sure that he was a dominant figure in there. You know, whether you liked him or not, he gonna make sure that he's the head of the household and you follow his rules. If not, you're nothing to him. Right? You don't disgrace the family type thing. And second of all, I mean, I actually seen something like this when I was living in Houston. A place called was it Tommy's? Is a Chinese restaurant. Great chicken. Great chicken there. But I literally saw the guy I thought who owned it yelling at his daughter about the same thing. How could you have kids by this black guy? You disgrace the family.
Yeah.
You know, you think I moved here because I wanted to sell them chicken? No, I was getting more money. And I watched this. I'm like, wow, that's how it really is. Of course, I never went back.
Right.
We moved from Houston right after that, but still, I mean, it resonated with me.
Yeah.
So of course, I gotta have more ethnics in the story. And, you know, and I thought this would be a good one because remember, her, Ricky, and Lisa was first, the comic relief.
Yeah.
Now you feel sympathy for them.
Yeah. And you've turned that table on us.
And every good story should have that.
Yeah.
You can't have somebody just a comic all the time.
Right.
You know, it's got to be some serious parts in it too. And if you ain't feel emotions for her, finding her fiance body chopped up like that and thrown, and then her father giving the revelation that he did all this to a child, and she has a child herself. He had grandkids that age and really didn't care. That lets you know what monster you live with.
And he says as much. He says, you know, I only let you play with black kids in the neighborhood because that's where we live. I didn't want you having children with one.
Yeah, it was good for business.
Yeah.
You know, I got to show, hey, I'm cool, but not really.
And he says it's his least favorite grandson, little Ricky.
Yeah, because he's of mixed blood.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Mm-hmm. But hey, that's how it is sometimes.
Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of that still persists of, oh, you married someone who was not in our approval zone, like, you know, especially if it's someone of a different race.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, you kind of still see it, but to me, you know, each his own. Whoever you love, you love.
Yes.
But, you know, our older generation, our parents' generation, they're in their 70s now. So,
yeah,
you know, they're about to die out. Maybe our generation will change it more because we're more on the thing is love who you love. I really don't care. As long as you're happy, you don't hurt nobody.
Yeah.
Enjoy yourself.
Yeah. Well, we can hope that it is a shift. It's just too damn slow.
Yeah, I mean, but our generations will be the great grandparents eventually.
Yeah.
Another 20 years we are, and we don't think like that.
Yes.
It's only, remember that's a taught behavior.
It is, and hopefully fewer and fewer people will keep passing that down and teaching that. But yeah, that is still a work in progress.
Yes, sir. But you see how I wrote it to make it still tie into what's happening today. And even though it's supposed to be 1995 area, around that time, but still, you know, it still happens.
It does. And that's, like I said, why this scene felt very relevant and current is because that kind of thing still goes on.
Isn't that sad, though?
It is. It is. And especially about mixing, where people just have such a problem with that. And for her father to get so irate that he wants to tell her. Like he's been waiting to say
of
this.
It. Like, yeah, I'm glad you found the gun. I'm glad you found the bandana. Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah.
It's how you grow up, basically, and realize why we're here.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a monster.
And tells her, what is it? You have two other sisters, so, you know, I still have two others.
You can die right now, and I'm still good. I have other grandkids. It's not like losing one is going to hurt me.
Yeah.
You know, so that's how it is.
But, yeah, like I said, you know, when they left that body out there, of course they were trying to send a message, but the shock waves that are resonating out from this, they had no idea, I feel like, what they were setting up to happen next in
I tell
her
you
finding all this out.
Whatever they intended to do, they got that and more.
Yeah.
Because by just dropping it there, let the chips fall where they may, and we'll see in the upcoming chapters where these chips fall.
And we start to see some other chips falling at the end of this episode, where we come back around to the Reverend, who is, enjoying the company of his, I don't know what we would call them, his young friends.
True. True. The Rev likes them a little younger. But like he says, they're still over age. Mm-hmm. But they're young for him.
They're still legal.
Yeah, but still, he's going to have an issue as well. I mean, past still come to haunt him.
Well,
Bell's not done.
And that's what's happening. At the very end, Bells is kicking the door in, and he's come looking for something, obviously.
Yes,
no matter
sir.
what Grandpa, I forget the last name, at the funeral parlor, no matter what Grandpa says, he's coming.
Yeah, Mark Williams is Thomas Williams' grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
And, why would Bill care? The man did 20-some years in prison.
Yeah.
He's going to get everything he's owed and more. I would.
Yes.
Just to me to survive and get out. Only thing I'm thinking about is you. Mm-hmm. I'm getting everything. So, of course, we'll see what happens. But, he interrupts Bells at the end.
So one thing I did want to comment about this episode is I noticed a lot of images of Lisa and her father fighting. Mm-hmm. There were I felt like more than normal, and it added sort of a real action and energy to that scene. And I'm curious, do you have some favorites in there that were your favorite to make, or favorite how they turned
Well,
out?
mine was, you had to have that conversation of going back and forth. Of course, she's angry.
Yeah.
Figuring out that her father is just basically telling her that, I killed that kid. So what? Mm-hmm. But to her to say, I'm never going to deal with you again. You're never going to see your grandson again. And she thinks she's storming out, but the father grabs her by the arm.
Yeah.
Just to solidify and tell her straight up that, hey, even though I told you this, you've been our snitch. Mm-hmm. It's easy to get rid of you. I got 2 other daughters. Losing you is not going to affect me at all. Yeah. And I thought that was like chilling. Like this guy, she realized that herself, her father's really a monster.
Yeah.
So everything she believed about him, and he was so loving and was so tolerant, that was all a lie. It was basically bullshit, a facade. Yeah. This man came there for one thing only, money. Again, she thought her father's only sell food and have these other residents. No, he didn't. His hands are not clean either. Nobody has clean hands.
And I do have to say that for all the other imagery that we've seen where, we know people are being cut apart or beaten or have dogs biting them apart, there is something that feels more violent about the scene where the picture where he's grabbing her by the arm or where they're yelling at each other, that has like I said, it's a, I don't want to say more frightening, but it is a more piercing violence between them than a lot of the other imagery we've seen.
Because on that image, you can literally see her disappointment.
Yeah.
You see her hurt. Like she really just realized what her father really is, what he's about. He really doesn't care anything about anybody but his money. Mm-hmm. And if you can't help him get the money, then you're in the way.
Yeah.
Now she really sees that for herself. And that's the look you see in that image. Like, wow. Mm-hmm. Everything I thought about you was wrong. And to a daughter to see her father like that, it has to be crushing, heart crushing.
Yeah.
My daughters will never see me like that. You know what I mean? I am who I am. I stand on mine. But to see that, it's got to be heartbreaking. And I want you to feel that.
Well, I feel like it comes across very effectively in that. So it's really taking interesting turns at this point.
Thank you. Mission accomplished,
Well, I'm looking forward to more. So we'll talk again next week.
Cool. And again, thank you all the Patreon supporters for following us and subscribing. And don't forget about our YouTube channel and Instagram channel. And we'll see you guys next week for Chapter 9. Thank you, everybody, again for coming to Unclean Hands Explain on our Patreon channel. Here we're going to explain each episode or each chapter to you. and more detailed, but in a fun way. So I hope you guys like it and enjoy. And thank you again for your support.
All right, here we are at chapter 9. So we're kind of closing in toward the end here. And yeah, everything is really happening at this point. Like all the things that were set up are definitely going down now. So right away, as we ended from our last chapter, Bells was kicking in the door of the Reverend's house. And this whole episode takes place with the Reverend. Mm-hmm. And yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about what goes down here?
Well, as soon as we ended the last chapter, when somebody's kicking in the door, obvious it ended up being Bells.
Yep.
But Bells came, to get what he's owed, what he's due.
Right.
He just happened to walk in with the Reverend, making love to his 2 young Latino lovers.
Yes, that there's a long, interesting description about how he justifies to himself what he's doing with them and how he's using them, basically.
Yeah, basically he's a pedophile. Man.
Yeah.
Let's be real. He got these girls from DR, and if you ever, especially back in the 90s, a lot of people didn't go to DR. Like, it is so famous now when everybody go there.
Yeah.
We call it the passport bros. They go see the girls. Well, back then, a lot of people really know about DR,
Right.
So, and if you really think about it, it's not a lot of money to be made there.
Yeah.
If you got 4 daughters back then, the small one went to school, the other 3 was prostituting.
Right.
So that's how the Reverend got these girls.
And he basically owns them.
Yeah, because what he was doing was still, well, we call them passport poppies or Western Union poppies. When as long as you send money back to the family, they good.
Yeah.
And that's what he was doing until they got old enough that he had to send money to them. Now they're 18 and older. In America, they're women.
Right.
So he didn't have to do that anymore. And plus, these girls wasn't leaving. You're going to go back to, if you ever been to Puerto Plata, it's nice now. But went back in the 90s.
Yeah.
You don't want to go there.
Right.
It was horrible. It just had a harbor and some things by the piers, and that was it.
Yeah.
Other than that, man, he was in a slum. It's beautiful now, but yeah, so taking a girl out of that situation to somewhere in the South where the Reverend got all this money, they're not going back. And they're going to do whatever he tell them to do for they can stay. And plus, if they really need the money, he's going to send it to their family. So they were actually sex slaves.
Yeah. So he just justifies it to himself that, well, they would have been doing the same thing back home, but being paid a lot less for it. And, so I'm taking good care of them, and they're taking care of all of my freaky needs.
And most pedophiles think that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, of course, he get his just due on this one.
Yeah. Yeah, he does. Because now, unfortunately, they are collateral damage in this, because Bells has come for the Reverend, but, he's not going to leave any witnesses. So he takes both of the young women out first.
Exactly. No witnesses. You can't. Everybody got to go. He came there for one thing only, get the money.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they were collateral damage. Shit happens.
Yeah, but he certainly proves that he's serious.
You killed one of the girls right off the bat.
Yeah.
Let them know, hey, I'm coming for the money. And you have to do that. If you want to let somebody know you're serious, you got to shoot somebody.
Yeah, and, someone like the Reverend, he talks a good game, but he's not a brave man, and he quickly comes apart here.
And you see how the Reverend, in the beginning, you thought he was a good, righteous person.
Yeah.
He's there for the kids. You remember the sermon? He gave such a great sermon.
He really did.
He didn't give 2 damns about that kid.
No. And
You know what I mean? But he could put on the show. But like he said, he was forced to do that. Because, he's like he tried to, when he's pleading for his life. Well, you think I want to be a Reverend? Mark told me to do this. Everything's on Mark. Everything's on Mark. The grandfather, Thomas' grandfather. It was never his fault. And most people who in denial like that, or narcissism and all that, it's never their fault.
Yeah.
It's never their fault.
And they will sell someone down the river to save their own ass.
He seen the end, he started praying. You know what I'm saying? Anything to save his ass.
Yeah.
He was doing it. Take the girls. He offered the girls.
Yeah. Before they were shot, he offers
take
them up.
Go ahead, take them. Just leave my money so I can leave. Because he knew how dangerous Mark was, and he's going to take money to get out of there. But still, he offered the girls. So this guy cared about no one but himself. But he's supposed to be a preacher.
Well, and that's where a lot comes out too. Like you said, Mark is pulling on a lot of strings here. Mark Williams is pulling, because we talked about this way back several episodes ago, that it seems like there was some stuff that went down in the past that he was involved in, but I didn't get the impression that he had as much power and control, except maybe a little bit with when Bells was saying like, "Hey, did you intentionally try to get me more years in prison?" But now it sounds like there was a lot more going on.
Well, as you see in the next couple of chapters, only 2 left, but you'll see what's really the power behind Mark. Because in the end, it's all about self-preservation.
Yeah.
And Mark is the only game in town. So what are you going to do? You come here or not? And like I said, it was a perfect situation to sell drugs, to move the drugs, to distribute it.
Right.
Funeral home.
And sounds like they took care of the competition at one point.
Yeah, like they said in the very second chapter, when Jamal Blue and Dee Dee Blue said they had no choice but to go to them. Because they wish, and people didn't catch this, we wish the Johnson Funeral Home was still here, but it ain't here no more.
Right.
And he explained why the funeral home's not there no more.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
got
saying?
rid
They
of
did
it.
something for Mr. Williams, got rid of it. It was Bells, and it was the Reverend.
Yes.
But Bells ended up going to jail for it, not the Reverend. The Reverend became Mark's, middleman, go-to guy. So that's what happened with that. But, it's more details going to come on. Next chapter going to explain pretty much everything.
And he's got some more people working for him, Mark does, as we'll get to in a second here. But I do want to mention that it shows just how angry Bells is, that he doesn't just put the Reverend out of his misery. He shoots him in the stomach and in the back because he wants him to suffer.
Yeah.
He wants him to feel like, I suffered in prison and you are going to suffer too. I want you to feel this. And, you put in some very particular details about like the blood on his teeth and things like that, that he is feeling this pain, and that's what Bells wants.
Of course, because, it's only retribution. It's revenge. All the time you left me in there. And then the thing is, again, even though the Reverend was shot, stomach, back, blood coming on his teeth, you see these pink stings, still begging for his life. Still willing to cut a deal.
Yep.
You know what I mean? To the end, and Bells wasn't going to hear it because he know that's his M.O.
Yes.
He'll try to talk his way out of anything. You can't talk your way out of this one.
Nope.
He should know he was going to die. He killed the other 2 girls. You got to go.
Yeah.
And he threw him in his brand new truck, the trunk of his brand new car.
Well, and that's where the other accomplices with Mark come in, is that, again, we're starting to see how powerful and connected he is. And we knew that he had police officers who worked for him on their off-duty time at the funeral home, but they're calling him right away saying, hey, the Reverend's dead. This is bad for us. And so, again, obviously there's more going on here, but he has eyes and ears everywhere, it looks like.
Yeah, it's no way you can run a drug organization now without having cops on the payroll.
Yeah.
It's just no way.
Right.
Like I said, the cops know who doing what and when.
Right.
As long as you keep the violence down, don't go back to them, pay them off, everything's good. It's going to always be like that. So, yeah, of course he had, and when they saw the Reverend dead, who was his go-to guy, who made sure everything was cleaned up, because remember, if all the drugs went through the church, the profits, you can't pay taxes, it cleans everything up. Right. That's why he donated everything to these youth parks and youth games and all that. Him and the Reverend was always together. You clean up your money.
Yep, because as you and I were talking about earlier, if you make all this money,
you got to clean it.
Exactly. And if you can't, you just are shoving it into closets and storage spaces.
Yeah, rats eating it, yeah.
Exactly. What good does that really do?
I literally seen that years ago. You can make a lot of money doing it, but how you going to clean it? And that's the issue. And by using the church, it's perfect.
It really is.
It really is perfect. And you see, I thought this through before I wrote this.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it really makes you question everyone's motivations, not only in this story, but looking around at everyone going, oh, what are you really doing?
Yeah, man. I picked a lot of this from my past, and you see, I had a colorful past. But, you know, all due to God, everything worked out great for I.
Well, hey, I'm glad you're getting to put all this into these stories because this is exciting stuff. And I'm looking forward to the next to last episode, 10, coming up next week.
Yes, sir. And thank you again for always co-hosting with me. And to our Patreon supporters, thank you again. And we're going to always give you guys the content before anyone else. Hope you guys like it. Keep subscribing. Keep donating. We love you guys. And remember, we consider you family. Thank you. Okay, welcome everybody to Unclean Hands Explained. This is our Patreon channel that eventually will go on YouTube. And we're just going to explain, you know, each episode to you and have fun doing it. I hope you like it.
Well, here we are, chapter 10, almost all the way through. And yeah, you know, the saying is all will be revealed. Well, it seems like we at least got part of everything being revealed here. And right away we pick up where the last episode left off with the police officer calling
Martin Williams.
Yes, to talk to him about the death of the Reverend. And he is losing his shit about this because he knows that this is a huge problem. He was a huge part of their operation. And so he is giving this officer a piece of the what for. But Thomas is hearing some of this, and he's just starting to connect the dots a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, basically, you know, they're starting to figure out the truth.
Mm-hmm.
That he had to see it for himself. I think he kind of knew.
Yeah.
From the first couple of chapters to now, but just to see it himself.
Yeah.
That his grandfather is going nuts about the Reverend dying and arguing about bells. So he kind of put two and two together, which had to come out eventually.
Yes.
And talking to Officer Kelly too, which he hates.
Mm-hmm.
But he's starting to realize, okay, my family is behind this.
Yeah. And then, of course, at the funeral, a little while later, he sees some stuff that really slams home that his family is involved. So tell us a little bit more about what he witnesses.
You say when you go to the funeral home or the cemetery?
At the cemetery.
At the cemetery, you actually see his grandfather, you know, actually on the phone yelling at someone about the Reverend's death.
Yeah.
And knowing that Bells did it, and he knows his grandfather, and his grandfather actually introduced him to both of the guys.
Yeah.
So he knows something's going wrong. And then he's also seeing some particular stuff with the cemetery burial itself.
Yes, that's the thing that really puts the nail in the coffin, so to speak. No pun intended.
Yeah, because he's like, okay, why is this officer here? And then he sees Loco Blue shows up to a basically all blood funeral.
Yeah.
That's kind of freaks him out too. But he's so pissed off that his grandfather has been hiding stuff. He kind of put two and two together. He's racing to the funeral home to confront him. And his mother happened to be there at the same time.
Yeah. Well, let me jump back for a minute and talk about that funeral scene where everyone is decked out in red and they're strapped, and there was a lot of detail there. Like you set the atmosphere once again for that, and it really felt like a situation that could go wrong at any moment.
Yeah, I mean, I personally know of gang members who are blood, and you go to their funerals, you better wear red. You know what I mean? You don't wear anything blue. So I wanted to make sure that was shown, you know, to show that how the solidarity and how the gang is like one family.
Yes.
So Loco Blue sticking out, even though he's trying to hide, that blue sticks out a mile away.
Right.
So just want to let you know, that's basically how I want to set the environment of the scene up, give you a more detailed look at how one of those would go.
And then, of course, in the cemetery, we get that great scene with, well, first of all, we hear Officer Kelly's thoughts as he's driving in the funeral procession on his police motorcycle, and he is a horrific racist. And we really get this feeling that he is profiting off of all of this, and he doesn't care. In fact, he's all right with everything that's happening. And he has you wrote a great line in there, which is that they're killing each other at such a rate that in 30 years, you're going to have to go to an exhibit to see, I assume he's saying to see any people of color or black people in particular, because they're just killing each other off so quickly. And he's really happy about this.
Yeah. I mean, again, I know some cops that really felt like that back in the day.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, I was a part of some things that, I had to hear that.
Right.
But, I was determined not to make that come true. But yeah, I mean, I got to let you understand that Officer Kelly is only learning from Mark Williams.
Right.
Mark Williams taught him all this stuff.
Yeah.
So, he just got somebody, like he's going to say in future things, that he wanted someone that was of a lower class white of him, and let him feel, okay, even though you might be what they call a redneck or whatever, don't have no money, but still you're better than a nigga.
Right.
So let him know, even though you ain't shit to me, you're better than them.
Right.
And you can feed on that because, again, somebody just want to belong to something.
Yeah.
And that's what he used upon.
Yeah, that is actually a technique of the colonizer,
Of
which
course,
is that
divide and conquer.
Exactly. You always have that buffer. You always tell people that the powerful people will let a poor group think, well, you're better than this other poor group, to keep them from uniting to fight the real threat, which is the people in that high level of power. And so they pit them against each other that way. And it's old as time.
Listen, it's old as time. And be honest, that's how the Europeans really did it. They divide and conquer.
Very much so.
Everybody who met them, rigged them with open arms. What they do, enslave them.
Yeah.
Take it, because most of Europe don't have natural resources.
Right.
They have it. We're gonna take it. Just like I like just the Masonic thing. It's a black thing. Prince Hall, making us Prince Hall is saying, okay, you blacks are better than those blacks
Right.
because we're giving you a little knowledge. So you should be better than them. But see, it's still divide and conquer.
Exactly.
See, but only thing can conquer, how can I put this? Only thing can conquer hate is love.
Right.
So only love can conquer. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it's a simple game. And if you fall for it, fine. But yeah, it's divide and conquer. And that's exactly what he did. You can do it with anybody. And you see him, both of you guys are white.
Yeah.
One are rich. One is not rich. Probably trailer park, what he call redneck, whatever. But still, look here. You're better than him.
Yeah.
Work for me. And maybe you'll get up there.
Right. It's
see what I
dangling
mean?
that carrot.
Yeah, but still hold them down.
Exactly.
Well, I get the most. See what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you don't work for yourself, what you doing? You work for somebody else doing their dream.
Right.
And that's all it is. Like I said in the end, everybody have a boss.
Yeah.
And Officer Kelly, Mark Williams, your boss.
Well, there's an interesting image in there where he's talking with Mark in the cemetery when Officer Kelly is, and his face is warped.
Yes.
And it's almost like we're seeing behind the mask of the decent person. We're seeing this
Thank
evil...
you for catching that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really creepy.
You caught it, yeah. Because out to everyone else, just like the father who owned a Chinese restaurant. He's a sweet Chinese dude, give you extra soy sauce and all that.
Right.
But be honest, he couldn't give a fuck about you. Same thing with Mark. He gives, oh, if you can't pay enough for your funeral, we got you.
Yeah.
You know, your insurance don't cover, we got you. We got the kids stuff. It's the thing in the end, he don't give two fucks long as that coke keep going. And you see in the end, he was selling to both.
Yeah.
Bloods in the crib.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a perfect thing for him. He sells drugs to both of them. They kill each other. He still can bury them.
Yeah. Yep.
What did he lose?
Well, and I think
It's 100% profit.
It is. And that's a funny line in there where Officer Kelly says, well, isn't this good for business if more people are killing each other? What are you so upset about with the Reverend? Because he's not seeing the big picture, because he's not a part of that. He's just seeing that he knows there's drugs being sold, but he just doesn't get the whole thing. So he doesn't realize how damaging that is, because he's like, hey, dead bodies, that's business. But that's only a small part of the business.
Exactly.
That's not the real money.
Exactly, because Mark won't tell him everything. Because remember, to Mark, he's a lower class white.
Right.
Just long as you do my foot soldier shit, that's all I need you to do. But Mark, no, the big picture is you got to have somebody to control these blacks. That's why the NAACP, if you think about it, it wasn't started by black people. 2 Jewish guys started that because they're going to give you your leader.
Right.
So Mark saying, long as I give them a reverend, they follow, I give them the leader, I control that.
Yeah.
And let everything keep going. But once he dies, now I got to go find somebody else. And that's what he was pissed off about. Now I got to find somebody else to do this. And it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
These young boys don't want to be preachers.
Right. They want to be players.
Yeah,
And so-
yeah. He don't want to do something. They want to be rap. They want to do Instagram and all. So he's stuck.
Yeah.
So that's what he's pissed off about, and that's why I showed the difference in his face. Normally he's nice and cool and relaxed. This time it's distorted. You see the monster in him.
Yeah. And that is a really great a great shot. I feel like that's a really neat piece of art in there.
Thank you, thank you.
I also want to mention we this is the end of Loco Blue as well in this episode.
True. Yeah, I mean, in the end, because we already know at this point that Mr. Chin did this.
Yeah.
He set it up. So why keep those guys in it? Because it's a trilogy.
Yeah.
Those guys got to go. Because the next one ain't going to be about them.
Yeah.
And I want to put it into that now so you don't think, okay, just a blood and crip thing or it's something I heard before. No, it's not. It's much, much, much bigger than this.
So you're just cleaning house to show us the next layer of the onion here.
Of course. It's just peeling back the onion.
Well, I feel like, again, a lot was revealed, but I feel like there are as many questions as questions were answered. So I'm looking very forward to hearing what comes next, because the way this episode ended, Thomas confronting his grandfather and mother, and it seems like they're about to reveal the overarching plan here, what they're doing with Thomas in the room. So
I mean, the next one is the last chapter, so
Yeah.
everything will come to fruition. You'll know what's going on and what happened. But yeah, I wanted to build up to this, but still, you're gonna be totally shocked. Again,
Yes.
I gotta have twists and turns and get you ready for the next one because, like I said, it's a trilogy.
yeah, so you gotta finish with this set of dominoes, but then set them up for the next
Yes, sir.
the
More
next
will fall.
game. Yes.
Yes.
All right, awesome. Well, I'm looking very, very forward to this conclusion, at least a conclusion of our first chapter of this trilogy.
Yes, sir. So again, I want to thank everybody for supporting us, the Patreon supporters, and again, please follow us on Instagram. Please follow us on YouTube, and we're going to continue to give you more content. Thank you, guys. Get ready for the last chapter. Thank you, everybody, again for coming to Unclean Hands Explain on our Patreon channel. Here we're going to explain each episode or each chapter to you in more detail, but in a fun way. So I hope you guys like it and enjoy, and thank you again for your support.
So, chapter 11, aptly titled The Bitter Truth. And this is where Thomas finally confronts his family on what's been going on. And one of the first things that his grandfather says is, fuck this community, which squarely places how he feels about everything and that he is just in this for the money.
True. And I wanted them to see that. Like the last episode, you saw the face change from like this humble, nice old guy to a monster. So now he don't have to, just like Mr. Chin, you ain't got to hide it no more.
Yeah.
You want to hide it because they was young. Now they old enough to understand the bitter truth, how he'll get this money.
Yeah. And it's more than it seems, even, as so many things are in this whole story, is that it isn't just him acting alone. He didn't just decide, I'm going to take advantage of this community. This was a much larger plan where the government, the United States government, the FBI, came to him and said, we want to disrupt these communities. Because at the time, the 60s and 70s, black communities were really uniting and coming together in very powerful ways. And a lot of people didn't like that and didn't want that and sought to find ways to disrupt that. And so really not only for this business, but for a lot of them to find success, they actually had to fracture the black community so that they wouldn't just go and buy black. They would go to other businesses.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I wrote this, because, be honest, if you really think about it, black people's only 13% in this country. 13%. But yet, they think we're the biggest threats. Mm-hmm. I know some countries, some states, we don't even live.
Right.
How many black people you know live in Wyoming, South Dakota,
Right.
Oregon, Utah?
Right.
But yet, media shows we're the biggest threat. How can we be? If we're that scary, because you know if they unite, it's a problem. Mm-hmm. So they saw this back in the 60s. Well, Hoover, he nah. I literally saw a documentary, and that's why I wrote this, because everything is facts. You can look it up with me. That Hoover said in 1964, the number one threat to the United States was black unity.
Yep.
What kind of shit is that? And at the time, we was 30% of the population.
Right.
We never been 50 or 40. Now we only 13%. Mm-hmm. But it helped the Latino community because they were so busy worrying about us.
Right.
They went up.
Yeah.
But guess what? 13%. They're like, okay, we ain't got to worry about them no more. We're going to focus on their ass. And that's just how it goes. Yeah. You see how they passed the abortion thing, right? Mm-hmm. I saw it, and it really solidified everything to me. This lady, CNN, the senator from Arizona, when they passed that abortion was illegal, she said, and I quote, "Finally, we can get our white numbers back up."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm like, a fucking senator says this? So that's, they thought if they keep going down, there's somebody else. But we're not going to be the threat. We 13%. How the hell are we going to get to 50?
It's that whole white replacement theory where they think
I
that
don't
everyone
understand.
is trying to...
But that's why I was trying to show that even back in the 60s, they didn't want that.
No,
and the government, it's not it's the government don't want that.
Yeah.
And that's sad. That's really sad, but it's the truth.
Yeah. And Hoover's FBI infiltrated multiple groups that were, and not groups that were a threat. Like they would come back and report out, this group is not a threat they're not an imminent threat. They don't have weapons. Mm-hmm. They're just trying to get food for the community, or they're like a resource group.
Yeah, they shut it down.
But he would say, I don't care, find me something. Mm-hmm. Don't you come back here without something against them, which basically was make it up if you have to.
Of course.
And to find ways to destroy these groups, fracture them, drive wedges in between. And in that infiltration, those agents would often be that disruptive factor.
And the thing is, most of them, they started the informant thing. Mm-hmm. And guess where they got the most informants from? The barbershops, the beauty shops, where everybody had to congregate.
Yeah, yeah.
The reverends. Hell, Jesse Jackson was an informant. Mm-hmm. He the one told me everywhere Martin Luther King was going.
Right.
Jesse Jackson.
Yeah.
Who the man ran for president, and I grew up, my grandmother had 3 pictures. One of Jesus, one of Martin Luther King, one of Jesse Jackson.
Yeah.
And when she heard that shit, she threw that damn picture down. Oh, and 2 more things. The wooden spoon and a wooden fork. They're the ones you got beat with back in the day. You know what I mean?
Right, because you could grab them off the wall quickly.
You know what I'm talking about. You know what
the spatula wasn't in range.
Yeah, but that's what happened. So, just the more you know that, hey, man, this shit is stacked against us. But I just want you to see anything I wrote on this, you can literally look it up.
Yeah. Yeah, and not a lot of people know about these incidents, or not just incidents, about this plan.
These agendas, yeah.
Exactly. Because it wasn't just a few isolated incidents by a few bad apples, as they like to say. This was a structural...
Like we talked about earlier, the FBI couldn't mess with the mob.
Right,
They had evidence on them. So who next you going to get? Mm-hmm. These radicals.
Right.
These hippies. These black radicals.
Yeah.
That's what you get. And the first thing you did, make marijuana a number 3 class A drug, just like cocaine or something. All of them go to jail now.
Yeah.
They don't worry about them voting. There you go.
Right.
So, yeah, it's there. But I just want people to know that that's how Mark Williams got tied into it, because he was a failing funeral home guy.
He was, yeah.
The Johnson family was getting all the money. That town is mostly black. Got rid of them. Now he got everything.
Right. Well, and that seems to be continuing in this story here, because we see this car dealership at the end that the officer is running, and we get when he says to Thomas that this never ends. There's always going to be something to disrupt this community. He seems to be indicating that he's doing the same thing at this car dealership.
Well, I leave a little suspense for Unclean Hands 2, which is going to happen 15 years later.
Yeah.
I do a 15-year gap between each one. So it's 95, then you're looking at 2010. The next year, I'll make it like 2000 when the book come out, maybe 2013.
Yeah.
Well, 2023, 2024, it'll come out.
Yes.
So it's around a 15-year gap. So you'll know that, nothing stops. If you got a voice, someone's going to fill it.
Exactly what we were saying before, that, there's always something to fill that power void.
Well, as it goes on, this 15-year gap, the city's gonna get bigger, of course. Mm-hmm. More players are coming in, more characters, but it still is the same thing. That if you have a demand, someone will supply it.
Yes,
and that's just it. And again, I try to make it a southern version of Snowfall and Power.
Yeah,
Snowfall for the West Coast, Power for Northeast or the area, and then now you have Unclean Hands for the South.
Yes. Well, I can't forget too that we did have a major character here who will not be rejoining, in that Mark was taken out by Bells.
Yeah, he had to. I mean,
Yeah.
He had to clean everything up because I didn't want nobody to think that this whole series is about the Williams family.
Yeah.
No, they're taken out. And I told you, the next one will be 15 years later. Somebody else going to fill the void.
Right.
That's why at the very end, I gave you a clue.
Yeah.
I gave you some kind of clue, but trust me, that's not everything. But I gave you a little clue. But somebody's going to fill that void, man. But Mark Williams had to die, all the shit he did.
Yeah.
And all the things he said and all his conniving ways. That's why I try to make the illustration show that he was a monster.
Yes. Well, and speaking of monstrous things, I think we also need to point out that, in connection with what Officer Kelly says about things don't change, Thomas's article, we get a glimmer of hope for a second there, that, hey, this article has affected some change, that people have read this and are coming together to go, let's shop in our communities more, let's build this power back. Mm-hmm. But that is kind of ripped out from underneath us whenever we see that this kind of thing is still continuing. So I thought that was a pretty great moment, that we get that little bit of hope, and then we realize that, is there really any way out of this?
Well, it shows especially with Thomas, that after the story came out, he exposed everything.
Yeah.
It's going to be a period of calmness.
Right.
But Dee Dee comes and destroys that calmness.
Yeah, Dee Dee comes in a
tells the
wheelchair.
truth, So, with the DG part, I was to make sure that people know that, okay, everything be good for a while, but still, there's a void that needs to be filled. And don't think because Thomas's grandfather's dad, Mark Williams, there's somebody else that know that town was ripe for the picking.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So someone knew that there's money there. Mark had the FBI and the government behind him, so they couldn't fuck with that town.
Yeah. He's
no longer there. FBI can get somebody else to fill it in.
Right.
That's just how it works.
Right. And again, it's now such a pattern that's occurred for so long that it's hard to see a way out of it.
Yeah, let's talk about Dee Dee.
Dee Dee, yes. Dee Dee, when she shows up in that wheelchair, at first I thought maybe I had missed something. I'm like, wait, did I forget a scene where Dee Dee gets hurt somehow? I'm like, why is she in a wheelchair? And then it's revealed that this has to do with, things came back around on her to some degree. But what I liked was that when she explains it, she reveals that things were not as they seem, and that Mims was actually beaten up on her. Right. That Loco actually kind of came to support her in that.
I mean, you think I was going to forget about her? I mean, I would have tied in from the beginning to the end. You got to close the circle,
Yeah.
So something had to happen to her. Those other guys are dead.
Yeah.
You think OG Mims didn't have a woman? You know what I mean? It was something had to happen to her.
Yeah.
If not, it wouldn't have made sense. It wasn't realistic. But yeah, I mean, she explained how, she was getting roughed up or whatever.
Yeah.
But still, to mess with his best friend,
Yeah.
that's a no gotta.
Right.
You can't do that.
Right.
You know what I
Even
mean?
if he is the supportive
so
one.
yeah, I mean, anybody else but that guy.
Right.
It's like you leave your wife leave for your brother or cousin. That's wrong, B. Yeah. Some got to be taken care of. Anybody else but him. And then she had kids by this guy. Mm-hmm. So yeah, when he died, she got it. But I made it brutal. But
yeah, the girlfriend
shot in the back and both knees.
Yeah, she's not walking again.
No, she can't walk. Mm-hmm. You're gonna be a hoe being a hoe in a wheelchair. You know what I mean? And my whole thing was back in the days I grew up. I was like, yo, it was a law. You shoot anybody below the waist, it's not attempted murder. So it was a knee thing for us.
Oh.
It shot you in the knees.
Yeah.
So that's why I originally I just wrote her to get shot in the knees.
Right.
But I'm like, you know what? I want to get shot in the back too, because she really did some fucked up shit. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? To mess with two dudes, because she really got both of them killed, be honest.
Right.
Like Thomas said, Dee Dee, you got wholesome responsibility for this too.
Yeah.
And he was right. You mess with his best friend, something was bound to happen when this guy get out. Mm-hmm. And she's trying to explain why he joined the crib. That doesn't matter. He joined the crib to protect his own ass because that man was coming home.
Right.
So he knew he was wrong too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Two wrongs don't make a right.
So she's still alive, but I don't know if she's going to be returning. I mean, there's a lot of characters who didn't make it out of this story. Mm-hmm. So, I'm very interested to see who's gonna appear in chapter 2.
Unclean Hands 2.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to stay tuned, but trust me, it's a lot of new characters and some old, but it's gonna be much, much more current with today. Yeah. But like I said, it was 95. The next one will be 2008. Then the last one will be up to date. But they're all coming, and you should have both before the end of 2025, or they'll all be done. Because remember, I got other series to do.
Yeah, I've got a lot of.
But Unclean Hands is my baby,
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing with that. But these are just books and the audio visual. The animations are coming out. This is gonna be amazing.
I look forward to that.
Unclean Hands animation should be out by the end of the year, and after that, we just keep rolling. For the next 4 years, it's nothing but animation.
All right. Well, I guess people should keep staying tuned and looking for all these things coming up.
Yes, and of course, my Patreon supporters, they'll be the first ones to get everything as usual. You guys pay, you support this channel. I make sure you guys get everything first. Trust me, I love you guys, and to me, you guys are family. After that, YouTube channel will get it, but you guys are always first. And thank you again for supporting us. Like I said, we got more content. We got my great host, Perry, with me, and we're going to keep doing our thing. And thank you guys for everything. And please look at us on YouTube and Instagram. Thank you guys for everything. We love you.
Well, I've really enjoyed taking this journey with you because, of course, you knew the whole story, but I've been finding out as we went along here. And I'm looking really, really forward to see where this goes.
All right. Thank you so much. Next one is Relative Weddings. We'll do that soon, okay? The Relative Wedding, I'll explain this next. Thank you, guys.